So welcome to Coffee with Kim. I'm so excited to be here with Deana Ward. She has joined us today, and you are joining me in Washington State with my family. Please tell us where you're from and what tribe you're from and the medium in which you work.
Okay, so I am a Choctaw and I live here in Durant, Oklahoma, and my medium is beadwork.
And you said you've only been doing it for 6 years.
Yeah. Well, I tried off and on maybe a couple of times when I was younger, and it never really seemed to take off. And then one day I was living in Albuquerque, and my tribe went to do a meet and greet, and one of the tables at the meet and greet, they had a beadwork class, and Kay Jackson was there with her beads. And I just wanted to learn how to bead forever. And I was like, Deana, just do it. And if you succeed, you succeed. If you don't, you don't. And I sat down at the table. It was nice to see people from back home. And I made this really simple pair of loop earrings. And it caught on. I was like, okay, I can do this. If this is all I can do, that's good. And I went to the bead stores there, and I went to 3 of them, and found some beads. I found like 10 vials, and that helped me for a good 2 months. And then at that point, I knew I wanted to continue. It took hold, took root, and it's been off to the races ever since. I really love it, really enjoy it. It brings a lot of joy to my life.
That's awesome. And then like so I looked at your beadwork, but I'm gonna let you tell the audience what kind of beadwork that you do, because there's many different styles. And so what is it that you specifically do?
Primarily, I would say the beadwork that I predominantly do, I call it bead embroidery. I'm not really sure what it's called. And it's just, I use one thread and I just keep going. I tack down every other bead. So that's the one that I primarily do, but I can do almost anything. I have a friend that does 3-drop technique, and it's like a peyote stitch. I can't do that. That seems to be out of my element, but I can do almost anything.
Yeah, I feel like peyote stitch is a challenge because I do the flat work as well. And so when I try to do peyote stitch, I'm just like, okay, these beads are not falling the way that they need to be falling.
I have a hard time with the ones that you count. The ones where you can just freewheel it, that's my area. That's my little neck of the woods. But the ones where you have to count, that has always been very daunting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm there with you. So yeah, I beat it a little bit. And I think you're right. I think it's not a matter of trying to figure it out. You just do it, and it remarkably just comes together and like forms into something on its own, was my experience.
It's a surprise to me every single time I do a project that it comes out, looks the way that it's supposed to look.
My other question, so did you join us during the virtual Indian market?
I did. I had some success with it. That was a fun time. I had just learned how to navigate my website through ArtSpan. So it's always like, you know how whenever you are beadworking and you get a high, you're almost finished. Selling, I've learned recently, like the last 2 years, it produces a similar kind of high. That somebody else appreciates your work, somebody else wants to buy it, someone else is just as invested in it as you are. Sometimes it's a different kind of high.
Are you on Instagram and Facebook?
I am. Recently on Instagram. Instagram is purely business. The Facebook is more social for me. It feels like it's going more toward the business end of things. I'm really learning how to manage my time. I'm a professional as well as an artist, so navigating my time has been proving to be kind of difficult, and I'm having to figure out what's important and what is not important. So social media it's very beneficial. Sometimes it feels like it can be a time suck of some type. I had to manage that.
Totally. Yeah, no, I agree. And I have to say that a lot of our artists started out with a website and then brought the social media to come alongside of that and to boost their sales. And that proved to be very successful for many artists. But at the same time, there was a ton of artists who were just like, this is time consuming. Like
It is. It took that summer launch for SWAIA. I was not only working my regular job, but I was also spending huge amounts of time getting that website up and going.
Yeah.
It was worth it. I don't regret it at all. But that took a lot of time.
Right. Yeah. So I'm curious, what are you working on? Ready for my
I have a
surprise?
surprise for you.
Ready.
Are you ready? It's a purse.
Oh, is that a coin purse?
No, it's a full-on purse.
Medallion.
Okay, so let me start with the central figure.
Okay.
We have a governor here in the state of Oklahoma. This purse is going to be called Governor Kev. And I have issues with him. When he was running for election, he said that he was Native and he had all of these connections with the tribes. And when he came into office, it just almost seemed like that got shut down. And what emerged was this anti-Native, anti-tribal sovereignty bent to his policies and his decisions. So in my tribe, we have trickster stories. And one of the trickster stories is a possum, and he's probably the primary trickster. And I was like, man, this guy, he came in and really sold us the goods, but he's actually a trickster. I asked a good friend to collapse a possum into a three-piece suit. And he did that for me, and it turned out really good. And then I started getting really excited. Then COVID hit, and it's antique microbeads are really demanding. They're demanding not only on you physically, you're constantly doing very precise movements with your hands, but you also, for some reason that I don't really understand right now, it takes a lot of psychology, a lot of mental effort to pull those antique microbeads together. So when COVID hit, it was too much, and I put it to the side. I knew I was healing the day that I picked this purse back up and started beading on it again. It took 5 months, but I knew I felt myself coming back, and I wanted to deal with him. So, you know, sometimes, I don't know, maybe you feel this way, but the events that happen in the world, you kind of feel helpless. It looks a little hopeless. What I like, I didn't feel like I had much of a voice. And what I like about art is it can take something that you feel strongly about, and you have a voice and you have a say about this situation that you're going through. That's one of the things that I enjoy about arts. Governor Kev turned out to be a really dark subject for me, and I don't like that. I don't do well with just pure darkness. So I was like, Deana, your state is not entirely bad. There are some really wonderful things about the state. We are the home of 39 tribes.
Mhm.
The eastern portion of the state is so beautiful. It's called the Ozarks. And I've just lived here my whole life, and I just love the way this rural life that we live. And so I was like, what could capture that part of Oklahoma that you love so much? So I went and did the back. And this is our state bird, and it's a scissor-tailed flycatcher. And this is a cedar tree. We've got a lot of cedar trees around. So that turned that very dark feel of the purse for me into something that wasn't so dark, something that was an alternative to that front side.
Mhm.
And then I love medallions. I think medallions are really popular around here with the native population. So I went ahead and I did the Oklahoma. He tried to turn some of our native imagery into a different type of branding. So I'm pretty committed to this particular. It's our state flag, and I went ahead. It's got some antique beadwork, micro beads again, and I just feel like it all fell into place. All of the different elements of the purse. It was just like it was meant to be, and yeah, the colors all went together well.
You're right. We have come through a moment in time where we're most certainly reflective of governmental decisions and how that impacts us as Native tribes and our sovereignty. And so did you feel like in creating this, when you said that you encountered healing and you were able to finish it, what was that dynamic that had happened?
Well, we were still in the midst of a pandemic, right? So I started on this January of 2020, and the pandemic hit in around March, and I was halfway done with the possum piece. I was halfway done with that, and the pandemic hit, and I felt like my life was out of control. And I'm a psychologist. I have external resources to call upon in those situations. And I found myself in need of healing. Wow. That was a very tough period. I did what everybody else did. I went and got my toilet paper when and wherever I could find it, stocked up on some things that if I happened to get COVID, then I was ready. I had my teas, I had my food. When I gained some sense of, okay, I've got a handle on this, and the new information about the virus itself started coming in. Okay, wear masks. I was working with the public, and a lot of misinformation about masks. Misinformation about the virus itself was coming through. And so the healing came in when I knew I felt like I had some kind of ability to control, if not other people, I could control how I interacted with the virus, how I put myself in the path of the virus. I felt like I had some kind of control over that as I learned more about it. So I work here in a medical clinic, and there was just like lots of really good information starting to pour in, and I started to feel safer. So that healing was just from from the research and from the ability to discern whether or not I was in harm. My family was not in harm. Just a lot of discernment. So I guess that's what I'm talking about when I say healing came in. Yeah, and so I started picking up the beadwork. I concentrated on really easy pieces, like the earrings. I went back to very simple kinds of earrings, and I also took an opportunity to learn new stitches. So there's one where you just tack down one single bead at a time, and it feels kind of random. I don't know what that's called, but I learned how to do that. I learned how to work with wire. I learned how to, so all of those elements, those things that I learned, there were like 3 stitches. All of those elements made their way into this purse. So it, I don't know, it felt like I was taking lemons and making lemonade out of them.
Totally, totally. That's been my motto. I'm like, how are you doing? How do you do this? I'm like, we took lemons and made lemonade. So you're excited that we're gonna go for it and have a physical, we're gonna have a hybrid market, but I mean, we're definitely inviting artists to come and be here. So
I am so excited. I like the in-person. I appreciate what SWAIA did with the all of the internet and website experiences that you guys provided. That is an additional element of how I can like get my beadwork out there. But there is nothing like being in person and getting that face-to-face, person-to-person contact.
totally,
Can't beat that. I'm
totally.
glad it's going forward.
Yeah, totally a sense of community. Like, I think that's what everybody, especially natives, you know, we come together in community events, whether that's a powwow. And so now we've got, you know, experiencing that with Indian market as well, is that it's just a sense of community. So cool.
It really is a carryover of our traditional values. I can't agree more.
So what do you have going on in the horizon?
I have Artesian. They Chickasaw Nation decided to do their online market again. So I'm going to be preparing for that. And I will be submitting this new work that I showed you in that venue. And then about a year ago exactly, actually, I took some fabric to my mother, some trade cloth, and she started making me a purse. Not a purse. She made me a coat. Sorry. I got the coat back from her. It's done, and I'm going to be starting on it. So that'll probably be the next major piece that I start working on. There'll be some elements to that I'm not quite sure how it's going to turn out. It's a mystery right now, but it'll eventually work its way out, I'm sure. It always does.
I have to say that artists have this element of courage to be able to go into something and not know what they're doing. Like, I feel like that's a writer's block for me in reference to art. Like, I got to know what the end product is before I even start. And so often there's just this courage that artists go through when they have a blank canvas, or like what you have, you know, you have now a coat that you're going to bead on, and like, I don't know what's going to happen, but
the aspect of competition, the aspect of putting your beadwork out there for judging, that propels you to keep trying, experimenting, doing new things.
So one of the things that I'm trying to develop is a creed for the organization. And so courage is definitely one of those creed items, but and just this sense of just creativity is just off the charts. And so I get really intrigued by it. Haven't been an accountant all my life. Like, all I did is looked at numbers and wanted them to like make sense. And now I'm in this creative space with creative people, and it's like, oh, okay, this is a totally different way of doing business. So it's exciting to me.
I can't wait to see the artwork that has come out as a result of COVID. I really think that it has been challenging, and artists always rise to the challenge.
Yes.
So the artwork that is going to be at SWAIA, or even the Artesian Festival, I just can't wait to see what all of it looks like as a result of all of us coming through this collective event together, the pandemic.
Totally. Well, it was a pleasure. I wanted you to tell me before we hop off of here, is how do people find you if they want to check out your work? And we'll have it on our website, but I just wanted to include it.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook. I have Deana Ward Studios on my Facebook. And then Chata, CHAHTA 1970 Deana on Instagram. And then you can find me on artspan.com. They have, through you guys, provided a website, so you can see my stuff there as well. I've got some new stuff coming out.
Thank you so much, and good luck to you. And I hope to meet you in person real soon.
I can't wait.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.